California Republican Congressman Devin Nunes is also author of the book Restoring the Republic, and he joins us now from Washington. Congressman, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Now, where do you stand on this whole question of the debt ceiling?
Well, thank you for starting off your program and talking about the real problem here in Washington. A lot of folks think that it's if we can just do a 5% cut or a cut here or a cut there. No, the problem is exactly what you were talking about. It's the entitlements. And if we don't rein in the entitlements, Medicare, Medicaid, just like you mentioned, and Social Security, then there is no possible way to balance this out-of-control spending. So that's why the vote this week is so critical, in that it sets the stage to repeal Obamacare. Because what was Obamacare? Obamacare was adding to Medicaid a whole new entitlement on top of Medicaid and Medicare, and then they cut money from Medicare. So until you are willing to look at the entitlements and improve the entitlements and reform them, you can't get to a balanced budget. And so most of us, I think, here in Washington, the Republicans that were here and the new Republicans that are here in the House of Representatives have no interest in raising the debt ceiling unless the president at least admits that perhaps we have a problem with these entitlements.
Well, now, we have something to deal with the entitlements. As I mentioned before, the aforementioned Paul Ryan, Alice Rivlin plan, which has been put together. Alice Rivlin is a longtime Democrat. Paul Ryan, of course, is a Republican, the new head of the Budget Committee. The thing was scored by the Congressional Budget Office. That is, they sent the whole plan to the CBO, which is a pretty neutral organization, and the CBO said, hey, this plan would actually save hundreds of billions of dollars over the course of 10 years. So why don't you put that on the table?
Well, in fact, that plan is based off of a plan that had Senator Coburn, Senator Burr, Paul Ryan, and myself 2 years ago, when President Obama and the Pelosi Congress were out there saying that Republicans had no plans. So, in fact, this is now taking that plan, refining it, and I believe that's something that has to be on the table. But it is important to remember, for all Americans to remember, that we only control the House of Representatives. You hear crickets from the Senate. Harry Reid is nowhere to be found. He hasn't been seen since the election. President Obama has yet to be serious about taking on entitlements. He pushed it off to this bogus debt commission gambit that he took on for months. And now we are where we are, where they're coming to us. They're crying wolf that the world is going to end if this debt ceiling is not raised. And us on the House Republicans, the Speaker Boehner, are trying to hold the line. And it's important just to get the message out there that we have to look at entitlements, and it starts this week with reforming Obamacare.
Well, I just talked to Charlie Rangel today, and Barney Frank has said the same thing, which is they're happy. The Republicans in Congress are playing a political game here. They're happy laying it all on you because they think it's impossible not to raise the debt ceiling, that the way in which the budget is organized and because of all kinds of accounting rules, you simply have to raise the debt ceiling. So they want to leave the ink on your hands.
Well, I'm glad that they think that this is a game. In fact, it's not a game. It's very serious. And they've put us into a position in this country where they are, in fact, right, that we will have to raise the debt ceiling at some point. But I can tell you there will be no appetite unless President Obama and Harry Reid in the Senate are willing to take on these entitlement programs and be serious with the American people, that if we are to keep Medicare, to keep Social Security, then we are going to have to reform them today, and then that leads to a balanced budget.
Excuse me, Congressman, don't Republicans also have to be prepared to take the bull by the horn and be prepared to say, no, we are not going to raise the debt ceiling? I just want to play for you something that a potential presidential contender said over the weekend. Governor Pawlenty from Minnesota speaking on Fox News Sunday specifically about this point. Play the tape.
And as to the federal government, they should not raise the debt ceiling. I believe they should pass legislation, allow them to sequence the spending as the revenues come in to make sure they don't default, and then have the debate about what other spending can be reduced.
Does Governor Pawlenty have a plan?
Well, I'm not sure about what his plan is. I didn't hear him mention in there that he's willing to look at entitlements, which I would like the governor and all the presidential candidates. They should all be saying that right now. Any presidential candidate that's on the Republican side, if they are not mentioning that we have to look at reforming in the entitlement programs, then they're not a serious candidate. So look, I think the real question is this, and I don't try to take over your show here, David, but what you should be asking Republicans is, what are you going to do that's reasonable and prudent before you vote to raise the debt ceiling? There is no way to get out of the maze that we're in. We're in this disastrous box that I think Barney Frank and Charlie Rangel explained to you earlier, that I'm glad they're having a fun time with this. But they left us here in this mess, and we have to come out of it. And so, and I can just tell you, the Republicans will not come out of this, will not let the country out of this until President Obama is willing to look them in the eye and say, yes, we've made mistakes, and yes, we have to get on the road to reform and a balanced budget, and we can't do that until we look at the entitlements. I think most Americans don't understand the seriousness of the problem right now.
All right, Congressman, thank you very much for being here. Good to see you again. Congressman Nunes,
Thanks, David.
while Democrats think the